Reborn Doctor, Concubine. Chapter 1. Die with Unclosed Eyes. In the 33rd year of Tianqi, during the coldest days of winter, a bitter wind howled. At the imperial city's state preceptor's residence, a mournful cry pierced the sky. "Zhao Huayan, Su Ye, you're not human!" In a dark, damp firewood shed, a disheveled and battered woman, her clothes in tatters, lunged forward with all her might. Her movements were too forceful, causing her slightly bulging abdomen to become more noticeable. But before she could reach the door, the iron chains binding her back, forcing her to stop. The chains clanked loudly as the woman, her collarbone pierced by the chains, ignored the pain and tried to move forward. At the doorway, a man in luxurious robes looked on with disgust. Beside him, a beautiful woman clung to his side. At their feet lay a lifeless body. Su Li stared at the maid who, just moments ago, had whispered, "Don't be afraid, miss, I'll save you." Now the maid was dead. Su Li's eyes burned with hatred as she glared at the couple. "Brother Anne, sister is so scary." The delicate woman pressed herself closer to the man. The man wrapped his arm around her and comforted her. "Don't be afraid, she can't get to us." He then turned to Su Li and said coldly, "Su Li, hand over the military tally and I'll make your death quick and painless." Su Li threw her head back and laughed. Her long hair fell away, revealing a long, hideous scar across her face. Despite the scar, her eyes were stunningly beautiful. "Zhao Huayan, you owe everything you have today to my Su family, to me, Su Li. What, Tianqi's top strategist? Without me, Su Li, you're nothing." Zhao Huayan gritted his teeth. This was exactly why this woman had to die. He had risen from a penniless scholar to a trusted advisor of the emperor, and it was all thanks to this woman. But precisely because she was so cunning, she had to die. Now that the new emperor had ascended the throne, Zhao Huayan had achieved everything he wanted. It was time for this woman to step aside. "Sister, as women, we should always put our men first. Why be so strong-willed? Look where it's gotten you," Su Ye said, her words pleasing Zhao Huayan but enraging Su Li. Su Li rattled her chains, glaring at her once beloved younger sister. "Su Ye, you're utterly heartless. He was your father too. How could you do this? You're worse than an animal." Su Ye covered her mouth and giggled. "Sister, it seems your maid told you everything. Your father and your maternal grandfather's family are already in the underworld. They died horribly. Your grandfather's blood flowed like a river, staining the execution ground red. His head was even hung on the city gate as a warning. Tisk, tisk." Su Li's eyes turned bloodshot as she screamed, "Zhan Hui, you tyrant, tyrant!" Seeing Su Li's reaction, Su Ye grew even more excited. "Oh, and one more thing, sister. I might as well tell you the truth. Even though I called that man father for over a decade, he wasn't really my father. Besides, he never treated me like a daughter. His eyes were always on your dead mother and you, the little bastard." Su Li's eyes widened in disbelief. "You viper, what do you mean? Father always treated us equally. He never favored me over you. Father lived a clean, honorable life, and you've tarnished his name. Are you even human?" Su Ye sneered. "Never favored you? Then why didn't he make my mother his official wife after your mother died? Why did I always have to live in your shadow as the legitimate daughter? He brought this upon himself, and it's all because of you. The new emperor has ascended, and with a new ruler comes new officials. Your father and grandfather's family had to go. It's all your fault." Su Li took a step back. Yes, it was her fault. She had ignored her father's warnings and stubbornly married into the impoverished Zhao family. She had strategized and schemed, helping her husband and aiding the new emperor's rise to power. But when the rabbits are dead, the hounds are cooked. When the birds are gone, the bow is put away. It was all because of her. Seeing the despair on Su Li's face, Zhao Huayan said impatiently, Why waste your breath on her? Every moment I spend looking at her makes me sick. Su Li's eyes nearly burst with rage. Not long ago, this man had held her in his arms, swearing undying love. Now he treated her like garbage. For him, she had defied her father for the first time. For him, she had begged her grandfather to join the sixth prince, Zheng Hui's faction. And what had she gotten in return? All her efforts for him had been worth less than a pretty face. Zhao Huayan, I'm carrying your child. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution? Su Yue giggled. Sister, children are a dime a dozen. Brother An can have as many as he wants with me. That's no threat to him. Just hand over your grandfather's military tally, and you can die with less suffering. Su Li clenched her teeth. When her grandfather had given her the military tally, he had repeatedly warned her never to hand it over to anyone. Never. I'd rather die than give you the tally. If the military tally fell into their hands, the common people would suffer the horrors of war. Zhao Huayan rubbed his temples. Forget it. If you won't hand it over, then don't. It's just one less thing to please the new emperor. You can take that tally to the underworld and join your grandfather's family. Su Yue's face lit up with joy. Brother An, you go ahead. After all, sister and I were once close. I'll see her off. Zhao Huayan nodded and left the courtyard. Once he was gone, Su Yue's sweet smile vanished. She turned to Su Li, her eyes filled with venom. Su Li, do you know what I hate most about you? It's your eyes. You're so ugly, yet you have such beautiful eyes. You don't deserve them. Yuki, go gouge out her eyes. The maid behind her hesitated, her head bowed, not daring to look at Su Li. Su Li stared at her. What, you don't want to? Do you still care for your former mistress? Su Yue said coldly. Yuki clenched her fists, then suddenly looked up at Su Li with newfound courage. Miss, I'm sorry. Su Li's hands were bound, her collarbone pierced. She couldn't fight back. She could only watch as her former maid approached. Ah, ah. A scream echoed through the snowy night, accompanied by Su Yue's sweet laughter, creating an eerie scene. Su Li was on the verge of passing out from the pain, but her hatred kept her conscious. Sister, now you look much more harmonious. Sister, I actually feel a little sorry for you. You were brilliant for half your life, but also foolish for the other half. Do you know why I want you dead? Because you're in my way, just like your mother was in my mother's way. That's why my mother took her life. Su Li trembled. Her mother hadn't died from complications after a miscarriage. That was why she had devoted herself to study medicine. As if Su Li hadn't suffered enough, Su Yue continued. Oh, and do you know how your cousin died? She was raped to death by soldiers. It's so funny. You always ignored her, but even in her final moments, she begged me to spare you. Isn't that hilarious? Cousin? Puh, puh. Su Li could no longer hold back. She spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground, vomiting blood uncontrollably. Her body was soon drenched in blood. Zhao Huayan, Su Yue, Zheng Hui, I'll haunt you even in death. With that final cry, Su Li's strength left her. She fell to the ground, lifeless. Yuki trembled as she stepped forward to check Su Li's breathing. Madam, she's dead. Su Yue smiled sweetly and said gently, Throw her body to the dogs in the mass graves. Yuki shivered and nodded. Yes. She called in 2 servants from outside to drag the body away. The wind stopped and the snow ceased. Master, this seems to be the granddaughter of the old duke. The sound of a wheelchair rolling followed. A sigh was heard. Then Su Li felt a warmth envelop her. She could sense a heavy cloak being draped over her body. Cough, cough. What a pitiful soul. Let's go. Master, your cold ailment. Su Li struggled to open her eyes. Through her blurred vision, she saw the back of a man in a wheelchair. In the snowy night, he looked especially pure. John Mo, I'm sorry. It was her scheme that had worsened this brilliant man's cold ailment, confining him to a wheelchair and stripping him of his chance to compete for the throne against Zhenhui. The late emperor had 4 sons. The crown prince had died of illness, the 3rd prince was a recluse, and the only threat to Zhenhui was the 7th prince, Zhen Mo, who was both talented and beloved by the late emperor. So she had devised a poisonous plan. How ironic that in her final moments, the one who showed her kindness was him. Her fate was her own doing. Zhen Mo, if there's a next life, I'll repay you. Su Li no longer had the strength to make a sound. With guilt toward her family and Yun Mo, and hatred for her enemies and herself, she died with her eyes wide open, unable to rest in peace. Enjoyed the chapter? If you want early access to plus 100 advanced chapters and to support the continuation of this story, consider subscribing to my Patreon/Flowkicks. Your support means a lot and helps me bring more great content to you.